Hi, welcome to Mental Health Monologues. My name is Natalia. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the Orange County area of California. I'm really hoping that through this channel, I can provide you with information and education on the social work and mental health fields. But with that being said, this is not meant to be or replace therapeutic advice. So if anything that is discussed in this channel or in this video piques your interest or applies to you, please take it to whatever mental health professional you are working with to further discuss it with them. Today is Memorial Day, and it serves as a national day of remembrance to honor the lives of the men and women who have died while serving in our military. Today has a different meaning for everyone, but can definitely be difficult for those who have lost a loved one, a comrade, or a friend. And so today I really want to dedicate this video to discussing the grieving process and ways that we can honor our fallen heroes. So first and foremost, the message that I want to send out there today is that grief and bereavement is a very personal process. Everyone will grieve in their own time and in their own way. But at the end of the day, walking that journey, acknowledging the grief, walking through that loss is important to healing in a healthy way. I often use the example or the analogy of a major bodily injury for the grief process. So let's say you have a broken bone. You typically will go to a medical professional to have the bone set to make sure that there's no other damage, there's no infection, and all of these things. That's why you seek medical attention. The grief journey is very much like that. We have been impacted in a significant way. And if we do not tend to that hurt or that loss, it can fester, it can get infected, it can lead to maybe behaviors that are detrimental to us. And that is why it is important that as much as it hurts, to walk through that journey in as healthy a way as possible so that you can heal and cope with the loss that you have experienced. So the model that's often used in the mental health field is called the 5 stages of grief. Some people call it the 5 stages of acceptance. Originally, it was called the Kubler-Ross model, named after the psychiatrist who originally created the model. It has expanded since it was originally created, and now is applied to a lot of different situations and experiences, but this was originally put together to better understand a patient's process when dealing with their own terminal diagnosis, but it has since been expanded. So with that being said, let's talk about the different stages of grief or acceptance in the grieving process. So as the model suggests, there are 5 stages to the model. They are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Now, I'll just share in general what these might look like because grief and loss is applicable to a lot of different experiences and situations. But in general, when we're talking about denial, we're looking at an experience of maybe shock or disbelief. This isn't happening. This isn't real. Am I dreaming? Things like that. Anger can be anger towards an organization, an agency, someone that we feel is responsible for what has happened. Sometimes we see that people are angry with the person who has passed away, maybe even angry with themselves for one reason or another. Then we'll see bargaining is often characterized as the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I could have done this. They should have done that. Why didn't this happen? Like a lot of what ifs. Bargaining. Then we go into depression, sadness of the situation, the feeling of the loss, the emptiness that might come along with that loss. And then we get to a place of acceptance, where we have a general acceptance of the situation of the loss that we are experiencing. Now, that is a very oversimplification of grieving and the grief processes and those stages because it looks different for everyone, like I said. But what I will also mention is that you likely will not experience these stages one right after another. A lot of people will experience multiple stages maybe at the same time. You may repeat a stage before getting to acceptance. I've had people who experience denial and anger at the same time. I've had people who have denial and then go to anger, but then sadness and bargaining, back to anger, back to depression. before getting to acceptance. Your journey through these stages will be different, will look different than others. You will be in those stages for different periods of time. I highly encourage you not to compare your journey to others because it is your journey to go through. Another conversation I often have with people that I work with is that you will likely go to a stage of acceptance multiple times. It is likely that a grief journey, most grieving journeys do not just culminate in acceptance. You will likely reach acceptance multiple times because you've reached the acceptance, but maybe there is something that triggers going back to those grieving stages. Maybe a day like Memorial Day, a reminder of the loss, significant holidays, someone's birthday, things like that. Or maybe you're going to your favorite coffee store or coffee shop that you shared coffee with that person. Whatever it might be, there might be things throughout life that trigger going back through these stages. The hope is that every time you go through this cycle and every time you reach through a place of acceptance, you're coming to a healthier place. That the loss, as much as it will likely always hurt, will not hurt as much as it did last time or the first time that you went through this process. And there's growth every time you go through these stages of acceptance. And that is the ultimate hope, is not to forget, but to heal and to honor that person's memory. Now that we've talked a little bit about the grief process, I wanted to share some of the recommendations I often give the people that I work with when they are dealing with their own grief or loss. My first recommendation is to lean into the grief process rather than fight it. Oftentimes, when we are dealing with painful situations, overwhelming or difficult situations, we'll try to ignore it. We'll try to compartmentalize things, but often that makes things worse. And so, as painful, as difficult as it may be, I encourage people to engage in the process rather than try to fight it. The other thing that I often recommend is to celebrate the life and memory of the person that you have lost. This can be small things like going to their favorite coffee shop or listening to their favorite music, or it can be bigger things like a celebration of life. But I do encourage you to find ways to honor their memory and to celebrate their life. I do also encourage people to seek support when you need it, not if, but when. This can be family members or friends or safe supports that you may have in your life, but this can also be communities of people, whether online or in person, who have experienced the same loss and want to provide that support to you. There are support groups by different agencies. Places like the VA can either have those support groups or can point you in the right direction. If you need therapy, please seek those supports. Oftentimes, we will have situations where people are dealing with something called survivor's guilt. Maybe you survived an experience that your friend or comrade did not, and you may be feeling guilty for that. You may have a lot of difficult emotions that you are dealing with. Please seek some support to help process through those feelings. Even if you're not dealing with survivor's guilt, there may be some additional support that you may need to help you process through what it is that you are going through. So I encourage you to seek that support. So the last thing I wanted to share with you today are some different ways that you can honor our fallen heroes on this Memorial Day. There are a lot of traditions out there that you can engage in if you would like. So one of the things that you can do is go to a memorial or to a cemetery to show your respects. You can also engage in a minute of silence at 3 p.m. local time. You can also wear a red poppy flower, which is a symbol of Memorial Day. You can also place an empty chair and place setting at your table for whatever meal that you may be having on Memorial Day, as a reminder of the people that we have lost. And last but certainly not least, you can always donate or support agencies or projects or programs that are dedicated to our veterans or supporting people who have lost a loved one in their service to our country and in the military. There are places like the Wounded Warrior Project, Folds of Honor. Locally here in Orange County and LA County, there's some places like New Directions, the VA. There's a lot of different places. And so you can show your support in those ways. All right, and that is it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you would like to hear a little bit more about the social work and mental health fields, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to hear from you, so if you have any comments or questions, topics for future videos, please let me know in the comments below. And with that, I hope you live your passions, love your journey, and I will see you next time. Bye.